Morning, Logan. Welcome for our chill stream, where you'll be watching me paint. And Celestial Caboose, hello. Excellent. You're drawing, I'm painting. We're doing similar things. So, as people come in, what you're watching me do is the very fun process of painting all of the siding that is going to be going on the F-scale roundhouse here. So, basically there's two levels to it. The first is sort of a grimy black undercoat, which will help to kind of give that weathered, like it's been out for a while look. And then on top of that, I'm going to be putting a boxcar red paint, which we have from True Paints here. It's their Rio Grande 1950s. It might be mirrored, but 1945 to 1960s red paint. What kind of wood is it? It is, I think, some sort of, I don't know if it's balsa or some sort of other wood. It's, this wood's fairly thin because this is going to be the physical siding that actually goes on the sides of the roundhouse here. I'll pull up one of the walls here in a little bit for you to take a look at. But since my main gaming computer is acting up right now, I figured, well, if I can't use that as well, I might as well show you what I'm doing with the roundhouse, because that's the exciting, fun part as well. But basically, we do this, once it stains, it'll look kind of like this. So it looks like it's weathered. This will eventually be broken off in individual strips, but then I'm going to put the boxcar red on top of it once I've stained everything. So I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, put the boxcar red on, then I can break them off and go from there. And eventually you'll see more or less, if it'll grab here, this is what I'm working towards. Basically the siding that we're going to physically put on the walls for the outside of the engine house. So getting there, but we have to do the painting stuff first. So I figured, why not early morning chill stream, just painting and talking and getting this F-scale railroad coming along as best as I can. And Solar's the long haul rail fan. So Angry, what's new? Hopefully everyone you know is well in North Carolina and Texas. I have family in Texas, but they are well away from any of the things. And North Carolina, I have not heard anything new in there. But I'm going to North Carolina next week, so I guess this week actually, but not to any areas that have been affected by anything. So things are good. Things are good. I will say this is my first real model that I'm constructing here. I was not ever anticipating I would do this, but you know, no real thing. Can we get a layout tour? The layout's not built yet, so I can't really show off a layout if there is no layout to show off. But I'm going to try to be building the wall. It's just a little too hot out. So I'm going to try to be building the wall here in the near future. But I kind of need to use the space that the roundhouse is in because it's my garage, and I would like to get my garage back. So we're going to prioritize this first, because then I can move this somewhere in my home so it looks nice. And I get to use my garage again, and then eventually we'll get back to the wall building. The wall building also requires multiple people, just because of how involved the process is. Could I do it by myself? Yes. Have I put down stone by myself? Yes, but it's much easier with a couple of friends. But most of them are occupado right now because of the 4th of July weekend, so hopefully in the next week or so I can get a few more of them over to actually help me build the layout. So that's where we're at right now. Recruit the Heist. Heist is several states away and has plenty of other stuff on his plate. Uh, you know, but have some mutual friends of Heist that also are a little closer that if we could ever have a long day to work on it, we could. So, and what I'm using is, again, this is a kit from Bill Banta with Banta Model Works. This is the Sergeant's Roundhouse model. Originally, I think that Roundhouse was only, I want to say 3 or 4 stalls, but I have it in a 5-stall variety. That way it'll hold as many engines as I think I'll ever have out in the layout, which right now I've got the Galloping Goose ready to go. I've got the K27 ready to go. And hopefully with that, if I ever do get other equipment like some of the White Pass DL535s or anything else installed with Blue Nami, I can keep them in the Roundhouse too. And Dr. Nimrod, hello. Well, good to see you again. ES&D boxcars on the layout. Probably not, because my layout is F-scale and everything that Heist has made is for like HO or smaller scales. So my stuff would not be compatible for that track. And besides, my layout is a mixture of Rio Grande and White Pass and Yukon influences. So with a hint of EBT scattered in every once in a blue moon. So, you know, fake road names don't go as well. But yep. And Andre Eckert, hello, good to have you here. Hope everything's well over across the pond. And Celestic Boost, so yeah, my first day volunteering at the local railway museum. Not much happened, got to yap about the JZ62s and the steeple cab to the visitors. That was cool. And I think you put some pictures in Midland server about like the SO60 in real life and a few other things. That's awesome. Glad you're actually getting to volunteer and do the thing. And I encourage everyone that is watching, if you like trains, get involved at your local railroad museum or tourist railroad, because they're always looking for volunteers. And by volunteering, you get to learn how to do the thing. And they will train you how to do it safely and efficiently. And then that could always open up a world of possibilities for you. So... and Solaris, I don't think you understand how expensive a lot of this equipment can be in F scale. You're talking about one freight car, like a flat car, that's $200. You know, the costs are stupid, so the quantity of scale you have to do to make your money back is kind of dumb. So a lot of the stuff I'm getting is on the used market, just because they did a lot of this back in the 90s and early 2000s, but only some stuff's being made modern times with it. So... yeah. Derail Valley video got taken down. Do you know why? If it was related to any of the live streams I've been trying to do over the past few days, it's because my live streaming computer and my gaming computer, there's a problem with the mic. And I'm trying to figure out what that is to fix, but I need to spend a lot of time playing around with the settings, and lately I haven't had a lot of time. We had a whole bunch of stuff with the 4th of July here in the States that I was involved with for a major event with Broadtop. And, you know, that just took away my time. And now that I have a little more time on my plate, I don't have a lot, though, because I'm actually going to be performing. I have a musical gig on Saturday down in North Carolina. So I just need to spend like an hour or two at my computer to try to fix what's going on with that, or try to find a temporary workaround. And I haven't had the time. And I'd rather prioritize this out in the garage, so that way I can get my garage to be functional again for storing my car, rather than being a giant work table for the Roundhouse. So we're getting there. Yeah, any scale of any model train can be expensive, especially depending on how many literal bells and whistles you want in there. You know, a lot of the equipment I got recently, like, you know, The Goose itself was expensive. Putting in Blue Nami was also expensive because you need the card, you need the speaker, you need the current keeper, and you need the labor. And all of that adds up. So like a quarter of the price gets taken up in DCC, and the other part is just the stuff. So yeah. Yeah, I won't reveal how much I spent on some of this equipment, but if you look up like the Bachmann K27, which is what I have, you'll see that they go on the used market anywhere from like 1,500 to 2,000. And then if you're looking at a Blue Nami card, that's about another 200 to 250. The speaker's like 20 to 30 bucks. The current keeper's another 20 to 30 bucks, and then the labor to get them in is around 2 to 300. So I'll let you do the math on how long it actually takes for people to work on this stuff. Now with this painting I'm doing, obviously it looks kind of rough, but the idea is this is just like an undercoat stain. So this is literally just, it'll be behind the red and it'll peek through to give it that grimier, grittier. This is an active rail yard that is, has steam locomotives in it doing the thing. So even though it's like, oh, well, it's splotchy, it's not exactly the same color, that's okay. So. Yeah, Solaris, if you're talking F's, or you're talking like 7 1/4 or 7 1/2, that stuff's stupid expensive. I know a few people who deal with those, and while it's awesome, and yeah, it would be kind of cool to have like a Rio Grande K36 or something in live steam at 7 1/2 inch scale. No, I'm not paying 85 grand for a steam locomotive. That is completely dumb and out of any realm of possibility. How many stalls am I putting on the roundhouse? It'll be a 5-stall roundhouse. So to kind of show you here again, this area is a little currently disaster zone because I'm just working at the speed I can. Let's kind of show you here real quick. So the roundhouse itself is right here. You can see I have the base completely down. There's one of the walls. A lot of my supplies here, but 5-stall roundhouse, and then I've got one of the walls setting over there with the glue, and then again I'm working on the painting right now of the siding. And my plan is I'm going to start with 1 pack of the siding. Unfortunately, the directions on these Bantic kits are not well documented for how you actually have to build. A lot of it's in generalities. So to give you an example, the current step I'm on is number 8, which it says the siding. It's all laser cut sheets. Stain the sheets, then break them apart. The ends may need to be cut off at the start of the laser cut. They never break off even. Start at the short end of the wall and test to fit a few boards. When you get the feel of it, start gluing them in place a board at a time, working your way to the tall end of the wall, leaving the window openings clear of siding. Once you get close to the tall/front end of the white strips, they'll be a bit short. Fill in the gaps with scraps from the short end. For added detail, cut the board short to give the entire side a bit more character. What I mean is the original siding was probably cut the standard lengths and probably not the height of the wall. See below. Okay, I started at the tall end, but after doing so decided it was better to start at the siding at the short end of the wall, making for easier cutting the siding. I added the siding with the wall flat. I also added windows to each wall as I built the siding. In this case, it's much easier to do. About the color, I stained my boards with the weathered gray black using True Color TCP 804 climbing back thin and acetone. Then after the stain had dried, I used TCP 216 DNRG boxcar red, also thin to a stain. So that's what I'm doing right now. So it's not like an exact science. It's more of a do what you can and make it work sort of thing. And when it does dry, it's not even, at all. Like some of the boards I have right now, this is when I started at the start of the sheet. It looks a little bit more basic, but obviously some of these have a little bit more paint and acetone on it. So again, we'll have boxcar red on top of all this eventually. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and move these out of the way. I think for the most part, these dry pretty quick, and you can tell where the wet spots are on some of these. I just got a little bit of paint on me. But yeah, we'll let this dry for a few minutes. I've got a few more that I have to do the initial stain. It also doesn't say how many coats I need to put down for the stain. I think for the black, I'm just going to do a basic one coat, just again, because it's a behind to give it that grimy, dirty look. But it's not the final, what's actually, oop. And I already got a board cut. It's fine. We're good. What kind of locomotives do I have? I have a couple of different locomotives. I have currently, I'll start with the White Pass ones, just because White Pass is best pass. I have the White Pass and Yukon DL535. So I've got 3 of them. One in each of the paint schemes that LGB put out. So I have one that's the green and yellow, and that one has a sound decoder with sounds from the engines in there. I also have a DL535 with sort of the blue and white scheme. I guess they might call it, what is it? Bankruptcy Blue, I think is what they called it. And then after that, too, I have one of the ones that's kind of like the blue, orange, and yellows, or blue, orange, and white scheme. So I have 3 of those. The green and yellow has the sound decoder in it that has that. The Bankruptcy Blue also does, but the other one, the blue, orange, and white, is just a unit with lights and motors. So it's not quite a dummy unit because it's not the right way to call it, but I have that. From there, I also have the Aster Baldwin 282 Mikado, the 73, that was made LGB Aster. So it's a mixture of both companies. So it's made out of brass. It's a little bit better quality. Just getting a little more paint here with the acetone and that. Okay, cool. So, but that has smoke, sound, lights. But the thing is, it has LGB's decoder in it, which is not compatible with my system. So I need to I'm still going to put Blue Nami in there. But I'm going to see if they can still use the smoke unit and some of the other things. So that way I have it as an option. So that's my White Pass fleet, and I'm pretty good with those at the moment. Then Rio Grande wise, I've got the K27, the 463. It's a Bachmann model that's about 10 or 15 years old. I have the AccuCraft Galloping Goose number 5, which is an awesome model, and again, that already has Blue Nami with it. The one thing I'm finding, though, is that AccuCraft model, it's light. There's not a lot of weight on the driver, or not the driver, but the belt system for their actual tracks. So I probably need to put a little bit of weight on top of it just to, have a little bit better grip and adhesion. But it does what I need it to do. So it runs around and it's really cool. And I think I've showed it off here on the stream too. So there you go. Eventually, I would love to have a Rio Grande K36, K28, and K37, but I want to get AccuCraft for all of those, and each of those engines, you're probably talking anywhere from $3.5 to $5 grand, and I don't have the money for that. So that's going to be wait a few years, find the right deal, Christmas present to myself sort of thing. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I wish, but I have to be realistic because I've already put a lot into this layout and a lot into the groundwork and the stuff, that sort of thing. I do have some other equipment. I've got a Aristocraft Little Critter that's actually a Napa Valley wine train. My grandfather got that for me a number of years ago. Also have a few other random German locomotives that belong to my great uncle who passed last year at the age of 106. He's the one who kind of got me into garden scale railroading. So I miss him dearly, but he's the one who I ended up with some of his stuff once he took his layout down, which was awesome. So I'm still very honored to have that. And then a couple of random like Bachmann big hauler sets. I've got a broad top big hauler set, but it's not very good quality. And frankly, I might even sell it because at this point I work for the broad top and I don't need to have it represented on my layout because I can literally drive 10 minutes and get to the damn railroad. So I have like the Swanee River Special Southern Bachmann big hauler set that from when I was a kid, and a few other random ones that are not good quality. So at some point I'll probably sell them just to make some room. But then I have a whole bunch of pieces of equipment for the White Pass. I have a lot of equipment for the Rio Grande. So, and then I have a little bit of that German stuff. So I'll hold on to the German stuff because that works great for like Christmas train displays and smaller displays. So if I want to have it for things, I can. What's the longest piece of equipment? That's going to be almost a tie between the K27 and the White Pass 73. They're roughly 40 to 42 inches long, I want to say. The White Pass one's about 3'6". The K is roughly 4 foot, maybe 4'2", 4'5". The Roundhouse is set up for about 4 foot long engines. So the longest engine that I would ever get would probably be one of the K36s or K37s. And this Roundhouse was designed so that way those engines would fit inside of it. So that's kind of what I'm working with here. Would I ever get a big boy or standard gauge? No, because that's not where my interest is. My interest is in 3 foot narrow gauge, and that's what I love, and it's my layout, so I will do what I want. But good question. So, thoughts on the Rock Island? Me, Metal Mike, I don't know a lot about other railroads. I'm a narrow gauge guy, so if you ask questions like that, I'm probably not going to give you an answer because I don't really care for standard gauge stuff. I think it's cool, but I have no opinion either way because I really don't know much about it, and I don't want to just be sounding off. Well, Ragtimer said Rock Island shit, and whatever's better, So, yeah. I will say, I know they're not watching right now, but Gary and Old Wolf came to the Broad Top on Friday and introduced himself to me, and that was awesome. Both Midland and I got to say hi really quick. And I know there was at least 2 or 3 other people who were there asking if I was angry, and it was cool to meet you. I apologize that I wasn't really able to give you the time of day, but when you're the guy in charge of an event, I'll try to be cordial and say hi, but I had stuff that I had to get to. So, keeping busy with all the things, as it were. Okay, I think we've got most of this stained now. So, and it's kind of a tricky thing, because, like, I have never stained or painted something like this. So I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. So you guys are here kind of watching either something awesome or something terrible. So this is documented for posterity, I guess. Logan asking, are you going to build a turntable or buy one? So the turntable is being constructed as of right now in California. I actually sent that off to a model maker, and they are making a outdoor grade replica of the turntable here in Rock Hill Furnace. That's the closest and the only thing I'm really going to have from the Broad Top on there. So that turntable is going to be long enough to, again, accommodate the largest equipment I'm going to have on this layout. And it was designed with this Roundhouse in mind. So coming soon, hopefully. The guy says he wants to have it shipped to me by not tomorrow Monday, but next Monday. So there is a high likelihood that in a week I'll be showing off that turntable. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so I have stained all of these. We're going to let these couple of extra boards sit for a moment or two. And then we're going to try the red boxcar paint to see how this goes. So, and then maybe depending on how much time we have, because I do have some other things I have to do today, we may put a few boards on the wall, but not sure how well it's coming through on mobile because just doing my phone for this, but yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and put this paintbrush kind of here, and then I'm gonna build a little stack of stuff kind of here because I think this is dry enough. Yeah, I can stack stuff on top of it. So yeah. Uinta stuff. I do have a Uinta boxcar, but I don't know if I'd ever really want to have a Uinta Mallet on the layout. I mean, it would be cool if somebody else had one, brought it over to run. I wouldn't say no, but yeah. This stain's actually turning out kind of nice. Again, I don't know how long I'm supposed to let this stuff dry, but I'm now getting to the stuff that's been sitting since before the stream started, which has been about a half an hour. So it's looking weathered. It's looking old and grimy, and like the wood's been outside for a while. It looks like a lot of the wood we have at the railroad. So let's see here. Yeah, you've seen some stuff. This stuff might take a little bit longer to dry, so I'm going to put it kind of leaning up there. Interested about the German stuff. So LGB V200 at my local model railroad store. So the stuff that I have is fairly old, fairly common stuff. I have a 2080S that unfortunately does not run anymore. I want to get a new one. But the 2080S was one that was my favorite from my great uncle. Again, the one who passed last year at 106. So his stuff was awesome. Midland actually got me a 2080D for Christmas, which was very generous of him, and so that was running on the layout at the East Broad Top for a bit. So that's really the only German stuff I have. Would I want some other stuff? I don't really know. The stuff that I have that's German is more of because I already had it and because it reminds me of my great uncle. So, again, it's one of those things of I'm nostalgic. I love remembering the past, both the people that influenced me and the stuff that influenced me. So, while my layout is no way really representative of like German narrow gauge, like the meter gauge stuff, I definitely have it sort of as I would like to honor it. Honor the memory of my great uncle and all that. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to shake up a thing of this Boxcar Red. I do have tons more paint that I got from Walthers. Basically what they recommend is you're doing 2 to 1. You're doing the mixture of the paint, and then you have acetone. And acetone is kind of like paint thinner, I think. Maybe it is paint thinner, but these are 1 ounce little cups, and you can get a fair amount with both of them. And they say basically 2 to 1. So I put in a little bit of acetone, and then we put the Boxcar Red on top of it to thin it out to a stain, basically. And it comes out kind of like the brownish red color. That actually looks kind of cool. And again, I'm not expecting perfection on this, but I am expecting it to be kind of cool. So, okay, I've got a couple of other bigger... I'm literally just using some supplies I got out of Hobby Lobby, just because that was the closest thing to me. So, paintbrush going into... Let me bring this over here just to show you a little bit about what we're doing. So, again, get your Boxcar Red. I'm going to mix it around just a hair, just so that way the acetone's thinning in there. And if we put on this second layer, actually doesn't look too bad. I think I'm going to need a little bit less acetone in here and more of the direct, but I want it to be more of a stain rather than a, it's, super nicely painted. And again, I might not have waited long enough for some of this stuff too, but we're kind of just going at the speed of we're doing it. So And I might need to put a second layer of paint on this too. Or maybe less black and more red or something like that. Oh, that's cool to hear, Mean Metal Mike. Cool. So. Yeah, I think I might end up doing a second layer of paint on this to make it more red. But it might also just be since I'm not in direct light, I've got a little light above me in here. And I've got my garage door open just to get some breeze coming through. It's not terribly hot out, but it's, good to be out of the sun. Might look a little bit different when I have natural light on it. So let's try to get this to be a nice, more or less even coat on here. And we'll go from there. Okay. That looks more or less good. I don't know, what do you guys think? Obviously, it's through YouTube, but, and again, these areas on the side are going to be trimmed out, but kind of like a boxcar grimy red for the siding. I think I missed a spot or two. But yeah, the black definitely comes through underneath, but then the red is your primary color. So even if it's not exactly even, it's there. And you definitely have that look of grimy railroad, which definitely want to have represented. So I'm going to move some of my extra paint supplies over. I'm going to let that sit. We're going to go ahead and get the next one going. But the other thing I will say is I do apologize that I haven't been streaming as much. As I said, computer troubles plus literally for the 4th of July event that the East Broad Top had. That was freaking nuts. We had a lot of people out, a lot of very happy people out. Did our first southbound trips towards Southern Huntington County High School in Pogue. We couldn't go across the Pogue Trestle because there's no track over it yet, and they still haven't worked on it. So Pogue will still be a bit, but we are to basically the high school, and a lot of people got their first rides heading south, and people seem to really like it. So we'll see what we can do in the future with that. That's going to be fun. Also had a couple of TV appearances this past week representing the railroad, so no rest for the weary. And now we get to start thinking about a lot of our fall events. So we'll see how all of that comes together. And I will mention that a lot of this Roundhouse was funded, Roundhouse was funded because of you guys, with your super chats and donations and memberships and all that. And I know that I haven't really been on YouTube a lot recently, again, with everything going on, but I really do appreciate the support you guys have given for being a part of this. So thank you. Let's keep going here. The tricky thing's now going to be trying to get all this like literally cut off and doing its thing. Because after this step, finish this one piece before I open up the instructions. Is basically then once I get all the siding stained, and I should mention I'm not doing all the siding just yet. I'm doing one wall because I'm trying to get one done, and then that way I can then focus on the second wall as the second part. Basically a guinea pig wall to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then the other one will be done soon after just to make it happen. Let's see, I need a little more paint on that. Yeah, that's looking pretty decent. Maybe a little darker than I thought, but I don't know if it'll lighten up over time. So. Okay. Well, I think that one also came out looking decently okay. What do you guys think? Kind of a grimy boxcar red. I'm going to let that sit for a couple of minutes before going to the next one. I also want to kind of read the manual just to make sure I know what the next step is. So once you have the boards on, then you're going to add the window frames and the battens. And the window sashes are installed from the inside. And there's apparently battens one at a time over the edges. 98 of them per long wall. Shit, that's going to be a lot. Again, the idea is once this is all done, and do I stain the battens as well? I think I do. Yeah, because it's supposed to kind of look like that at the very end. So that's what I'm working towards. So I guess once I get all of the siding done, then I'll also stain the battens. That way they're done. And I think the window frames I don't need to touch. So they even have window glazing. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back over a little bit. And we're going to grab our next sheet to go. And this is dry. It's more or less dry. And again, if you guys have other questions about the layout or what the plan kind of is, definitely let me know. I'm trying to read the comments as they're coming in. I will say I'll only have another 30 to 40 minutes. By the time we get through all this, will probably be it for, again, a kind of a chill morning stream. Nothing too crazy, but at least you can kind of see that the layout is in, layout details are in progress. Both the buildings and other stuff is going on kind of behind the scenes, so. So yeah. Do I have a station on the layout? I do. I both do and do not. The reason I say do and do not, I have a station that, again, my great uncle made for me when I was a little kid. It's like 20 years old. That was modeled after one of the Pola kits. But he was very big on the look at the kit in the catalog, figure out how to build it himself, and then he would build it with cardboard and other things that he had lying around, not necessarily wood. So it's awesome, it's beautiful, but it's fragile. So would I bring it out for special events? Probably, but it's one of those buildings that I don't really want to have on the layout permanently outdoors. This sort of stuff, because it's wood, I'm going to spray it in acrylic once I have it done. And then that way it'll be a little more protected, but some of the older buildings, maybe not so much. I would love to get eventually a model of the Ophir Depot from Bantam Model Works. Again, kit that I would have to paint and build myself, but that's $650 plus shipping, which I don't have right now. And frankly, I've got enough on my plate that the other buildings can be a 2 to 3 years down the line portion once the layout's up and running. So, not that I don't want one, but it just is not financially in the cards right now. So, that's what we're doing. But eventually there will be 2 different depots. One that's going to be modeled after the Ophir Depot, And then Bantam Auto Works also has their Allison, Colorado depot, which is a little bit smaller, which could work as like a further away station, kind of like just like a top of the hill, kind of like Cumbres or like Monarch Pass or one of those things. Let me see. Get one of these. Cleared off. I need more paint. That sounds cool, Solaris. Okay. Kind of missed my paint bucket there, but oh well. I knew there would be spillage. And it's kind of weird that I'm only working on one wall right now, theoretically. The keyword's theoretically, because I may be working on multiples and I don't even know it yet. But, let's see here. Let's get some of this paint and acetone mixed together a little bit. Okay. And cool, Andre, cool to hear. Okay. And this is one of the darker sheets on the ones here, so it's a little darker, but I think that's okay. And I do think, I probably could have gotten like an air sprayer for some of this stuff, but I think, especially because it's a wood building and they would have hand painted it back in the day, it's probably going to look better if it's hand painted like this now. So, cool. Let's get another one or two of these small ones here. Okay. And I'm frankly surprised how well the paint's sticking to these boards. Because I thought about whether I needed to get primer or anything, but I figured this is actual wood. It might not necessarily need a primer, which is how it is. Okay. That was a very fat person on a very small bike going down the road, and that'll be burned in my brain for the rest of the day and not for the right reasons. Ugh. Yeah, this is coming. And he came back. The horror. Let's see here. Yeah, yeah, okay. Solaris playing Railroader, and your auto engineers are doing fun stuff. To be frank, I've kind of been burned out on Railroader. I mean, I know there's a lot of cool mods and stuff coming out, but I've kind of just been overwhelmed with all the other stuff coming in. We'll probably play some more Derail Valley multiplayer some point this week. It's still wet. It's a little wet. Move some of this out of the way. At least these two big ones that have been sitting here for a little bit now. There's nothing that says I can't go back to get more of them set. Okay, these are all looking decently good. So I guess we'll just keep going. Let's get all these shorties that I had like one pack of them that like cut in half essentially. So didn't break anything. It's the way it's supposed to be, but it's more of a, okay, now I have it like this now. So. The other thing with Railroader is like, I know WNCR does a really good job of like coming up with themes and stuff. It's like, I'm known as kind of like the, oh, look, it's the logging guy or stupid trains or whatever. But, it's like, I'm not as interested in the British stuff. Again, American 3-foot's more my thing. The Century of Steam devlog that came out last night was pretty cool. I rewatched that this morning before getting started on here. But, you know, again, it's like, I'm trying to find new ways to reinvent the wheel with Railroader where the content is like, okay, you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. There's not a lot of variety unless you have so many mods that it changes the core gameplay dynamics so much that it's almost unrecognizable. But I don't know. If there's any ideas you guys want to see with like Railroader or Derail Valley or some of the other stuff, like I can definitely talk with the guys and see if there's anything specific that interests us, and we can maybe get some together and do that. Okay. Let's see here. Ooh, those paint fumes. They're good. Is Bryson Burkett's an official mod? I mean, it's a mod. There's no like official mods, I would say. It's just whatever's on Nexus mods. So, that's where I go for all my stuff. I used to go into the Railroader Discord, but there's so much, sometimes drama and stuff in there that I really just have not paid attention to it. And Nexus is like a good platform for it, so I'd rather just keep pulling what's on there. And occasionally, if people send me stuff, I'll test it out, but I haven't done that in a bit. Okay, let's see. Let's get. I think that looks decently good. Okay. A little bit of spilled paint on these just means that we're going to get another little coating on here just to make it a little bit more red. Cool. Okay. Let's make some more room here. We still got a fair amount of stuff that I have to get stained. off the first batch. That stuff is still a little wet. I'm just going to make some room by moving some stuff over. Of course, it's a little wet. I just went over it with a paintbrush. Duh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely wet. Okay. Oh, that's definitely wet. You're gonna go here for the moment. And you're okay. So you're gonna go about there. Okay. Let's get a couple more down here. These are all bigger sheets, so should be good. A couple of bees playing outside. Okay. And I'm just painting on wax paper. What I found is that when I'm working with all this wood stuff, wax paper does the job of both preventing any glue from sticking to other stuff, and it seems to just double as a good paint surface. So I'm going to continue to use that. I'm sure someone's like, well, aren't you using this or that? It's like, no, I'm just going to do what I do. Because I am me and I do what I want. Yes, Andrea, 4664 would be way too massive for Railroader. Here's again how I look at it. What is the game trying to represent? In Microsoft Train Simulator, and to a similar extent, Railworks, which is now, you know, modern day train sim, it's very much a you can put whatever you want on the rails and run it because you can dream it, you can build it. And they have routes for Union Pacific big boys to run on and Challengers and that sort of thing, and that's awesome. You go to Railroader, and they're trying to give you a slice of life of 1940s to 1960s transition era railroading in Western North Carolina. Railroads Online was an attempt at, you know, 3-foot narrow gauge that exploded dramatically in the wrong way, and now it's just unsupported abandonware essentially. But in Railroader, you know, it's trying to resemble that like short line, you know, like branch line railroading. So 4664, if that branch line was not initially built for it, it's kind of like, okay, you can have it, but for what purpose does it really serve? And again, you might not be able to go on parts of the routes that it's not designed for, whereas a smaller 462 or a 280 or something that might be more appropriate for that line, you know, would be a better fit. Okay, that is a hair that has been painted. Cool. So again, it's like, it would be cool, yes, but what purpose would it serve? Because it would probably only be restricted to certain areas of the railroad, just like the real things were. So, let's see. Okay, that looks decent. Yeah. I'm trying to find those little spots where it might either be thinner with paint or could use a little touch up, and trying to go back and forth to it. And this brush is definitely not liking some of the surfaces I'm working on, because it's definitely falling apart. I don't know if you can see it at all, but it's kind of dismantling and leaving some of the hairs behind. Any diesels that would fit? I mean, probably the early stuff, like probably some of the smaller switchers. Again, I'm not an expert on standard gauge by any means. I will not try to fool people that I am. So, probably like those early short line diesels, whatever they were. Some of the G's or maybe like some of the Baldwin diesels could work on there, but past that, again, I'm not the person to ask. So, but like for Century of Steam, well, within the narrow gauge world, there's a lot you can work with because a lot of narrow gauge had the similar sort of, environments they were going through. There's a lot of variety of what they tried, and you're not talking about something that existed much past the 1960s in most cases. Obviously the Plaster City operation, the White Pass are kind of the oddball counter arguments to that, but you know, but they're trying to get a century of railroading under that moniker. So that means, some of the earliest narrow gauge steam to the last narrow gauge steam to the kind of like the narrow gauge diesels that existed in the last 2 decades of the narrow gauge. Whether you're talking about Rio Grande, whether you're talking about East Broad Top, whether you're talking about Sumter Valley, whether you're talking about, any of those things. So, it's kind of, it just goes back to the point of whatever's appropriate for the product. What are you trying to represent, and how are you going to represent it? So, my rant is now over. This is coming through pretty nicely here. So, yep, we've played with the F units before, Andre, and they're pretty fun to work with. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if someone does come up with a catenary mod for Railroader. I know at one point someone was working on a narrow gauge mod for it, which would be kind of cool, but it just comes back to that what's appropriate for the game. At one point, I had heard, Solaris, that someone was trying to do like more mod editing tools to allow us to have more customizable maps and add tiles. I have no idea whatever happened with that. Again, I've kind of been out of the loop in a lot that's happening in the modding community, just because I've had other stuff, including the Garden Railroad, to focus on. So. So yeah. A couple more bristles are coming off. I guess either this brush is not designed for what I'm trying to do on wood, or it's getting so overused that it really does not want to play nice with it. But it's painting the wood, which is all I really care about at the end of the day. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say only Generation 1, but definitely the early stuff to like the early 1960s that was designed for like shorter branch line work. Not necessarily like, I don't know. Again, that's just my own personal opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Apparently this wax tape has been falling down. Let's go ahead and put that over there. we're back to having that paint thinner just being really good. Going to go to work till later and be like, you're going to be huffing paint all day. Yes. Okay, let's get a little bit more paint in the bucket here. Let's see here. Trying to make sure that if I have any dots that appear, like from just paint dripping across the things, that I have caught them before they become too much of a pain in the tuchus. Or I make them wait until drop on the actual piece of wood I'm working on, so. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think they articulated that Heiss is talking about is the H6 mod, the Western Maryland. I think that one's still broken, though. Is that layering over? It kind of is, yeah. Yeah. Again, the H6 is cool, but if you play with it long enough, it'll probably break. So until it's a little more stable, it almost doesn't make sense to use. The H9 mod that Plague Doctor made is awesome. Okay, let's see here. A lot of little bits are coming off this brush. Probably have to replace it here in the near future. Okay. I mean, maybe a German locomotive could work because maybe in a quote unquote alternate timeline, Germany, exported a lot more locomotives to the U.S. for some reason. Maybe there would have been a use for one on a branch line in the mountains of North Carolina. I don't know. Well, that was a lot of brushes that just came off. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've got a few more sheets left. Okay. It's a little wetter. And then that's definitely still wet. I can see that. Okay. Let's get these last few done. And then I have other errands I'll have to do. And I have no idea if I have enough already prepped for the side I'm going to be working on or whether I'm going to need to get more. So we'll find out. Actually, once I'm done with this brush stroke and get the paint off of this one. Just for the sake of trying, because there's always a good reason to try. Okay. I do have these thicker brushes that may or may not speed up the process or make it easier, but since these are small, kind of like finer detail brushes, maybe if I do it this way, it'll work a little bit better. And again, the idea is once all of these are painted and dry, I break them out of the boards and then we can start laying them on the actual side and make sure the windows are there. That way it's kind of done all together. And I've got the windows over there on the other side of the thing here. Yeah, I am in a ventilated area. I am in my garage with the garage door way up and open. So I don't know if this is doing any better or worse than the other one. Theoretically, I can get more surface area, but I also need more paint in there. Let's see here. Maybe it's a bit better. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a little bit faster. Try it like this, see if that helps. Or whether it doesn't really do anything much. Yep, there's a GP38 mod. It's kind of awesome, but I'm not sure how well it really fits with some of the Railroader stuff. I will say Salty, the Canadian, or Salty the Rail fan, whatever his name is, did a really great job with some White Pass mods for that, which is awesome. I almost feel like I'm going through more paint and it's not doing as much. But I think that looks pretty good. I've got one more board. Okay. All right. I think at this point, I've got all of the basic stuff going for the siding to be painted. So at this point, I'm going to let it dry. I have a couple of other errands I need to do for the day. Maybe we'll stream later on of like putting this on or not, but we'll kind of see. In the meanwhile, thank you for tuning in here. Appreciate you guys doing that. I'm going to get some other stuff done, and we'll see you, excuse me, another time. Bye-bye.